Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to It's Just Plain Cyber. I'm your host, as always, Terry German, and this one we're going to do slightly different. Steve's not going to be on this podcast. This is going to be me, just myself, because I wanted to have a little talk about the conference I went on to in London last week on 27th, 28th of March. Because there were so many topics in this conference that I think would be really interesting for not just everybody's personal interest, but also businesses as well. Now, the conference was take place in the Hilton on Bankside in the centre of London, which is not far away from Southwark in London. Well, I used to call it Southwark, but the Londoners don't like it, so it's Southwark. And it's an interesting conference because you're only allowed to attend if you know a supplier or you get a personal invite. So I got a personal invite from the event organisers, which was Clarinet Events, working alongside DTX for their conference event, and it was named the Cyber Leaders Summit 2024. They run these about two maybe three times a year in different parts of the country, in different parts of the UK. They got one in Amsterdam and they got one in America as well. But arrived on the first day at 9 o'clock in the morning, doing your registration, getting your little name badge and your lanyard, doing a little bit of networking, which is just speaking to other clients around while you're having coffee. Then we go into the conference itself, and the host talks about what's going on in the conference and the agenda. What I did like is they got this funky little app where you can log onto the app and it could tell you all the meetings that you pre-arranged and all the presentations that are currently going to be going on. Now, one of the big things that really appealed to me is I've been to many conferences. I've been to the eCrime conference and I've been to the InfoSec conference, and sometimes you can get overwhelmed by the amount of suppliers and the amount of information that you get. So if I use the InfoSec as an example, the InfoSec is run over, the information security conference is run over 2 days, and it's like it's like going into a massive supermarket without a shopping list. There are suppliers covering everything from hardware security to really advanced side security, and there must be at least 200 suppliers in that place, and it is, unless you have a plan, it is really overwhelming. And I've never been overwhelmed with stuff, but it was just you don't know where you're going, where to start, where to finish. And then you've got the eCrime one, which is the one I always go to every year, and that's good because that talks about what's going on in the world, in the security crime world, and you get some really good talks. But again, during your breaks and your lunches, you are hounded, or not, hounded is the wrong word really. You have suppliers that are there, and sometimes you use the tact of, I'm only going to go to that supplier if he gives me a t-shirt or he gives me a mug with the company logo on it. And sometimes you can go in there and not really know who you're speaking or why you're speaking to them, and what benefit they could give to your business. So this one was slightly different. It's the first time I've been to Cyber Leaders Summit, and what happens about a couple of months before, one of the hosts or one of the event companies contact you with a list of all the suppliers that are going to be attending, and which of these suppliers in order of priority, so priority 1, priority 2, you'd like to go and speak to. So you don't have to speak to everybody, and you don't have to fill your day with every single person, but it is really good to speak to people or suppliers that will benefit your company. So I think I picked eight in total, 8 of suppliers I wanted to go and see to, and these are suppliers that it's not really for my benefit, it's how I feel these suppliers could possibly benefit my company. So these range from asset management to cloud security to penetration testing. So I set aside all these suppliers, and when you turn up on the day, you get access to the app, and on this app it shows you all your suppliers and the times you're meeting them, and you get like half an hour, 40 minutes to talk about different things, your company, the problems you have with your company, and how they could possibly help you. And then we go on to the panel and the speakers. The way the conference is run is you have about 3 or 4 sessions in the day in the big room where everybody else sits, and you have one person presenting something that their company has found out or seen or feels it's going to be a benefit to you and your company. And you also have what's called a panel. Now the panel consists of maybe 3 to 5 people from high positions in companies, and they get given a topic which is pre-arranged topic, and they talk about it as if you're sitting just chatting between each other, but it's in a whole arena of possibly 100 to 150 people, and they talk about different topics, and then they go back and forwards where the moderator speaks to each one and says, what's your view on this, how do you feel people should act about that. And it's a really, really good topic, and because it's a cyber leaders summit, they don't really go too deep in technical wise. They talk about how it affects your business and what ways it will affect your business in the future, and how it can benefit on the whole. So one of the first topics I always think, and the host came on and he gave a simple slide that appeared up on the screen, and it said, and he said, what I'm going to do, if I ask you one straight question without too much detail in round security, you put your hands up whether you think you're going to go for this or you're going to go for that. So the topic was, are you a safe thinker or a risky thinker? Now that was it. It didn't tell you about what we're talking about. We're just talking about security as a whole, and do you do safe or do you do risky? So I put my hand up for safe. Sometimes that's the safe answer, so I put my hand up for safe, and he explained difference of when you talk about security and you're talking about being safe, that should be mandatory. The way you go along in security, you should be mandatory. Your mandatory action for your company is to keep it safe. Now when you look at the risky side, everything outside of safe, if you bring another product in, or you introduce a new policy, or you decide the company to go a different way, that's a risk because you don't know what the outcome is. You could use experience from another company or the supplier, another client the supplier's dealt with, but it's still a risk. So if you look and you stay on the risk on the safe side, you'll be just doing the mandatory security. So if we look at a house, your mandatory security on your house is to ensure your door works, but you won't get any special locks on it. You'll just use the key lock. You won't look at maybe getting high security windows or having a dog installed in your garden. So these are all the things when you look at it as what a risk is, because you don't know if the dog's going to do his job. Is the dog going to run over the fence and run away? Is the new windows on your house, are they too dear so you're not going to be able to afford it? So these are the things when you look at it in risk. So that was the little thing the host started to talk about, which is good. It makes you start thinking about what do I do? What do I do? Am I too safe, or am I really, really risky? So then it went on to the first panel, and the first panel that we talked about was, what is attack surface? What is going to attack your business? Now, for people who are not in the business world, attack surface is the areas that could affect your business. So if you have lots of users, and most of them are in the UK, some are over in a foreign country, and they have different laws and different regulations, that's another attack surface. Your insider threat, which means your employee, how your employee can affect your risks. They could be a disgruntled employee, or they've been sacked, or they know access inside the business. That's another attack surface. So we're talking about different things like this, and it makes you start thinking, which is what I liked. I like the opportunity to think of how you could benefit the company, your company. So they start talking about third-party risk, and Steve and myself have talked about third-party risk, in past episodes, but they started delving deeper into how could third party affect you. One of the things which is I think I've brought up in the past is I may have a dealing with a supplier that supplies, let's say he supply. Let's think of it a different way. If we use Amazon for argument's sake, so I have a dealing with Amazon where I buy every 2 months I'll buy some soap, or I'll buy some CDs, or I'll buy some USB keys or things like that, and that's my one-to-one communication with my third-party supplier. Now I may be really, really good at security, and my company may be really great with security. Amazon may be good, but may not be as tight as me in security, but they may also have another client that's really rubbish, and they get hit with viruses left, right and centre, and they just happen to have one virus that was transferred to Amazon, and then Amazon happened to not doing all their security checks or whatever it is, and don't forget we're just using Amazon as an example, not in true life, and Amazon could, unbeknown to them, send out the virus to all their clients. So you may be really secure, and your supplier may be really secure, but you don't have any control over the other third parties, or the third, fourth, fifth parties. So it talked about how ways you can look at protecting the business from that side, and a lot of these are just straightforward, cheap ways, such as make sure you get an audit report from your supplier, make sure that you get confident with your supplier that they're keeping your data safe. And we know in this world of security we can't sit here and think we're safe and secure, because we can't control anything we don't have control of. So that was really good. And they were talking about bring your own devices, so BYOD in the security world, bring your own devices. As business are looking for cheaper ways to work, when we had COVID, it made everybody work from home, and it got to the point where some companies wanted to cut back on giving people a laptop, a company laptop, so they allowed them to use their own laptop, log on to a secure area in the company's network, and then they can go and do their work. This goes the same for mobile phones. So if I have a mobile phone, if I have my own mobile phone, and I want to connect to my business VPN or secure network area, I'll have a little VPN login, I can log into it, or I'll log in some other way, and then I'm in. Now, if my company noticed there's a piece of software on my personal laptop that isn't at the correct level, isn't at the correct level, support level, or is a piece of software that the business doesn't really like, they'd have no control over that. Now, if you were given a work mobile and the same thing happened, the work mobile, if they use something like Microsoft, or they use Intune or Versa, different things like that, they can just completely wipe the phone straight away, because the phone is owned by the company. You can't do that with your personal phone. So if I have my personal iPhone and I've got my family photos, I've got my WhatsApp group, I've got all these other things, and I've got my little access area to my business, if they've noticed something on my laptop, then they can't do anything about it, because it's my personal laptop. So when we talk about bring your own devices, it's protection for the company on people who bring their personal devices. So they talked about that. We talked about the insider threat, the remote, the remote access for remote workers. Then they went into a big topic which kind of lasted a couple of the days really, which was around AI. Now, because this was the Cyber Leaders Summit, so you had people who were directors, you had people who were CISOs, you had global heads, you had heads of security. So this is a nervous topic, AI, and what I wanted to do is, without going in, because I could be talking about this for another 40 minutes, but I want to keep it short, so I wanted to scan over it. But the AI topic was really, really good, and it gave me a view of what the outside world thinks, what techie people think and what management of companies think. Now, AI, a lot of people were saying it's a scary piece of equipment, and if you speak to somebody else, it's not as scary as they think. So one company called SentinelOne, they have this what's called Purple AI, and that's coming out towards the end of this year. And what that is, and this gives you an example of how good it is for businesses, and I'll explain a little bit how good it is for people who outside of business, so you just, you know, your normal personal people. So this Purple AI, what it does, it's you set it up in the company. So if there is a problem on the network, and you can see there's in your alerts, you can see that there's this IP address that's popping up left, right, and center in all the dialogue and all the logs. You can just simply type into this Purple AI, type in the IP address, and just simple, like, ask it questions like you would normally ask them. Where is this IP located? And the AI will go away, and it'll tell you where this IP is located. Off that answer, you could say, how many connections is this IP having from this location? And it'll go away and it'll pull out all the locations about it's happening. So you can look at the locations for your business and go, yeah, that location I'm familiar with. Yes, that location. Oh, that location doesn't look right. And then you type in something like, how many times does that IP address from that location during the day appear, and what times they are. It would pull it up and all the time slots and everything. So it's really, really deep, and every time you're asking it a question. So what this Purple AI is, like, it's a security analyst, whereas this AI will go away and it'll do the investigation. It'll pull back the details you want, and you can ask it, can you put it in a graph, and it'll put it in a graph. And you could say, could you create an executive report, and it'll put it in an executive report with all the diagrams of where it's going through. And so it's really, really good. And when the gentleman speaking was talking about that, I was like, wow, this could cut a lot of effort of resources. And I'm not saying it's going to get rid of people in your IT team. No, it's not going to. It's just a nice piece of software that will help you track down, because sometimes you don't know where. And I use my company example. I don't know where sometimes I need to look to get this certain piece of information, and it's a pain in the backside to go to IT all the time and say, can you tell me which is the platform I need to go to access this area or to get this information? But this Purple AI will have access to all this information. It'll have confidential links to all this, and it'll all be agreed beforehand. And then it'll go away and do the investigation. You can bring this back information. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Then we go on to the other side, which is we talk about ChatGPT and all these other ones. Now, I could sit here and tell you AI is scary, but like with any computer, since computers were born, computers will only do what somebody tells it to do. So I could even term it as AI is the smartest idiot, because it will be, you tell it what to do and it'll go away and do it better than what you might think about. But it needs somebody to tell it what to do. So if a hacker was going to create an AI script that will hack a business or hack your bank account, somebody will need to tell it where to go, what to do, what information to put in it. So that's the part you've got to really, really stop and think. When you get frightened about AI, think somebody's got to do it. Now, Steve mentioned in our last podcast about deep fakes. Now, they were talking about a lot of deep fakes, and a guy from ESET, absolutely brilliant, he was telling a story of how he used AI to pretend to be one of his friend and transfer money to another person's account. So the way you done it, there's software out there that can mimic somebody's voice, and it can also take a picture from a photo and get the lips to move as with the same voice as a person, so it looks like. So me now, I could sit here and tell you all this, and then afterwards I could say it wasn't really me, it was an AI. That's how advanced it is. But like we said at the beginning, it only does what somebody tells it to do. So AI won't go away and find a picture of me, and won't go away and listen to my voice and put it in. Somebody has to tell it to do it. So what he was doing here, he was using his knowledge to get an AI voice editor and an AI picture editor, put it together, and phone this his friend who owns an estate agent in America, and he buys and sells property on this island. So he goes, this was pre-agreed, before you say you can't just do it without happening. He agreed, because the owner of the company said, you'll never be able to catch me, nobody will believe. So he said, right, okay, could you sign this piece of paper that says, if I do anything, nothing comes back on me, but I'll return everything that whatever happened. So he goes away, and to cut a long story short, he gets this AI audit tool, audio tool, and AI picture tool, and puts them all together. Gets because this gentleman does a lot of the owner of the company that he was trying to breach does a lot of talks, does a lot of podcasts. He was very easy to get his picture, and because he's very big on social media, telling him he's got this new car, he'd be able to get his picture. So what people do now, in the olden days where you used to get an email from somebody saying, I'm the last king and you're my last relative and all that, and then it went on to, I'm the director of a company, can you please send me XYZ amount of money? What it's gone now is a lot of people, or the younger generation of today, are using voice notes and FaceTime, and send you a picture, a FaceTime message. So if I was just the average person on the street, not in security, and I received a message from my mom saying, we are in financial difficulty, could you please send some money over, we don't have the bank account we used to have anymore, we have this new bank account, could you please send it here? You would look at it and you would go, oh right, my mum's really in serious danger, serious trouble, I'll try and help her out. But then again, you stop and say, does my mum ever send me voice notes? Does my mum ever send me a Facebook recording or a FaceTime recording? No, she doesn't. So these are little things you pick up on. But if I got one from my daughter, I'd be thinking, yes, she's asking for money again. So that's normal. But these are the things you've got to watch out for. So he had a really big section on that, and that was absolutely amazing. Really, really enjoyable. It was a really funny story he told. And he didn't transfer hundreds of millions, he just transferred £250 or 250 euros. But once he proved it to this company director, how easy it was, of course he transferred it back. But he really tightened his security after that. But it makes you think about that AI can work in both ways. I like AI, I think the world's better for it. If I wanted to write a security policy, and I went to ChatGPT and said, write me a BYOD policy, a bring your own device policy, it'll take a couple of seconds and it'll reel off a policy. But that's just a basic policy. I'd still have to tailor it to meet my company standards and what my company needs to do and all that. So it's not the answer. Somebody can't pretend to be a security expert or a security analyst. They will still need some knowledge to make the AI work. So that was really, really interesting. And I just wanted to talk about that in a bit more detail. The other things he said, which I'm not 100% is right, is they said, the person talking about the AI, he said that around about the year 2040, if AI goes as it is at this moment in time, by the year 2040, AI will be able to have a one-to-one conversation with a human. Now, what that means is, if I'm talking to the AI now, the visual AI now, I could say, so how was your day? And the AI would come back and say, oh, I've had a busy day, it's been terrible, I've done this. And how was your day? And you could go, oh well, I had a little bit of a fall, I fell over, I broke my wrist. And then the AI would come back and go, Oh right, okay. So what did you do with that? Did you go to the hospital? How was it? So you start building up a relationship with this AI. So, and in the business world, like what I was talking about, this purple AI from SentinelOne, is I could go to the AI and ask it a business related question, and it would come back to me with an answer, and we can have that conversation back and forwards. That they said that if it goes the way it is at the moment, 2040 was that would happen. But as well as AI going that way, the knowledge of AI and how to counteract it or how to deal with it will also improve. The next date, he said, by the year 2065, AI will be super AI, which will be able to develop products, develop medication, develop pieces of hardware. But again, somebody has to start it. And even by 2060, which is 36 years time, the knowledge of AI will grow as well, and we'll be able to counteract that. So when people give dates, I always say, oh, people are going to get worried about it. Just as bad will get badder, good will get gooder. There's not English, but it will give you an example of we all develop. We don't just stand still. AI doesn't develop and we all stay here and we don't move anywhere, and then we slowly catch up, and it's a never-ending race. There are very, very smart people in this world, smarter than I ever will be, and smarter than people I even know. So it's scary, but it's not as scary as some people talk about. That was good, and that was a couple of sessions on the Wednesday, and a couple of sessions on the Thursday. So I've kind of, all the information I've got there, I've kind of mingled it into about a 6 or 7 minute slot. The other area I wanted to talk about was they talked about cyber insurance and how you deal with cyber insurance, and what is cyber insurance. Now, cyber insurance, I think only really came to the front, I'd say, in the last 5-6 years, where companies were really being attacked by hackers or malware or ransomware or something like that. So companies had to get insurance, so if anything happened, they're covered. A bit like your car insurance, your house insurance, and your medical insurance and all this. So and from my experience of insurance in the business world is I get a spreadsheet from my cyber insurance broker, and this is a questionnaire that I need to fill in, and these questions are around about 30 to maybe 50 questions, and they relate to how much your business takes in, how much your business sends, how many employees you've got, what devices do people have of their own, what devices are sent out. So lots of security questions. What policies do you have? What's your legal stance on this? What's your legal stance on that? And it goes into this, and a lot of people were on the panel, and a lot of people in the audience, because again they ask questions at the end, said that the questionnaire is just far too long. It needs to be quicker. Whereas if I get car insurance now, I go on to Go Compare or whatever website in the UK, or whether you're outside the UK, and you fill in about 6 or 7 questions, bang, it gives you a quote of different suppliers, and then that's it. You pick one, you pay monthly, you pay yearly, or whatever it is. A lot of people saying cyber insurance should be like that. And like with any insurance, the insurance broker or the insurance company is going on trust, and cyber insurance is a lot of trust. It's very, very rare that you'll get a cyber insurance company coming in and actually seeing if the answers you give are the answers that are right. And the only time this gets found out is if you make a claim on it, or the underwriter decides, say, that doesn't sound right. How could a company of 3,000 users only have 4 personal devices, or only 4 work devices? And if you don't give the information incorrectly, then when that happens, your company's going to be in the doo-doo if it doesn't get it right. So they were talking about ways to make insurance easier for the consumer, and there are a couple of brokers out there now that, well, not now, but will be introducing something similar. There's one company called Assured Insurance, which was one of the panel on the speaker on this presentation. And what they do, which I think is really interesting, is the insurer will come to your site, or will do a Teams call or a Zoom call, or whatever communications you have, and they will fill the form on based on the verbal answers that you give them, because they have the experience of filling in the form. So some of the forms in the past were, are all your users MFA, but which is multi-factor authentication, and the answer is either yes or no. So there is cases where you may have 1,000 users and 700 of them are MFA, but 300 aren't for whatever reason. So what do? Do you answer that one yes, or do you answer that one no? And if you answer it yes, and further down the line the insurance comes in and you need to make a claim, and it's found out that one of them 300 was the breach, they would say, well, you said you had all of them, so I'm sorry, we're not covering you. Or the other side of that is if you say no, all our users aren't MFA, and they suddenly say, okay, because you've answered that one no, we can't cover you, or your premium's gone through the roof. So a lot of companies now are making it that it's not just a yes or a no, it's a yes or a no, or not applicable, or yes or a no maybe, or there's a comments area where you can type whatever you want. Well, this company has a call with you, maybe an hour, 2 hours, different times of the week before the insurance is due, and they talk to you about what have you got, what have MFA, and then you could say, yeah, we've got 700 but 300 aren't, and they'll say, okay, what are them 300, why are them 300, and they talk, and that person is typing it down rather than you type it down, which is good, and a lot of companies are going that way, which I think was brilliant. So on the whole, the 2 days was really enjoyable. I got to meet some really great people, made a lot of friends, and of course companies are going to contact me, but these companies that are contacting me are the ones I want to contact me. So I'm not going to get some random company contacting me left, right and centre. If I get a call on Tuesday or the following week, it will be from a company that I'm interested in. And I got and during them 2 days, I had a lot of communications with the company that's hosting it, and I've got some really exciting news which I can't give yet, but it's exciting for me and going forward in this podcast and the information I give you in this podcast. So it's good, and a couple of people I've spoken to have said they would love to come along and do a half an hour slot like we've got with Amy coming up. But yeah, it was good, really, really nice, and I'm glad I could just give you a little bit of a taster of what it is. And Steve will be back in the top of my little screen here, or is it on this side of the screen, and we'll carry on the great work we've both been doing with this podcast. So thank you very much, everybody. Hope you found this little extract of the conference I went to really good, and we'll speak to you in another podcast that me and Steve do. So thank you very much, and goodbye.